Welcome to the Love and Sex Today show with Dr. Doug Weiss. Doug has been healing hearts and relationships for decades. He's helped thousands of people release the shame and the guilt, restoring hope, helping people get free from addictions to enjoy a better sex and love life. Here he is, your host, Dr. Doug Weiss.
Welcome to Love and Sex Today. I am Dr. Doug Weiss, and I am here for our 43rd conversation. Today's is a big topic: to masturbate or not to masturbate. This is a huge question, and everybody has an opinion. Now, I have done more masturbation histories than probably any person alive. For the last almost 30 years, every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I was doing histories. Working with men and women who work with sexual addiction issues, intimacy, anorexia issues, and just going through their histories to find out what type of sex addict they are, how they got where they are. I've done thousands of masturbation histories. I've talked about masturbation more than probably anyone alive. So I know everyone has an opinion, but mine is probably more an expert opinion because I do this every day for a living. So I want you to go to loveandsextoday.com, subscribe there, review us on iTunes. This is really important because one of you that review us on iTunes every month will be selected for a private conversation with myself, and we'll be able to see what's on your heart and mind and see if we can maybe take you to another level in some area of your life or business, okay? Also, there's a free chapter of one of our books on the webpage, loveandsextoday.com. Please go there and write a review. Now, okay, I'm going to start with what happens to your brain when you masturbate, because this is a big issue. When you have an orgasm, you literally get the biggest chemical high. These are indigenous opiates, which simply means your body creates these opiates. This is the biggest thing you get rewarded for chemically. But when you have an orgasm, you literally attach and connect to and desire and hunger again whatever is in your fantasy world or real world, because your brain cannot distinguish between real or imaginary. So it's basically ring the bell, feed the dog, ring the bell, feed the dog, ring the bell, feed the dog. And this goes on for years. A lot of men, especially and women, now they're masturbating to pornography and fantasy because it's way more accessible than it's ever been in world history. And they're literally attaching to the other world. So much so that there's been articles written about men who can't maintain sexuality with a real person because of their sexual attachment, their neurological attachment sexually has actually been hijacked into the other world. So if you use porn or fantasy, you will actually create a neural pathway attaching you to that, desiring to that. And you can actually create any kind of desire, fetish, or connection that you want with purple, green, yellow, people, positions, anything. Okay, you will hunger for whatever it is that you masturbate to. And this can leave you constantly desiring and wanting to have that type of sexual interaction. You can create a certain type of lover or siren or voice that you like to hear during sex, attaching yourself to that voice. And your spouse might feel that you're not present in the real world with them. And that's a real issue. Oh, but I only masturbate to my spouse. Well, oftentimes I hear that, and it's really interesting. I say, okay, well, tell me about the spouse that's in the fantasy world. And he or she is usually more amorous, more willing, more vocal, more creative, actually has more endurance, more strength, more aggression. It's really interesting. But the problem is they look just like your spouse. So you have the kind of steroid sexual version of your spouse, and then you have the real one. And now your brain's really confused because it gets the A spouse in the fantasy world and gets the B spouse in the real world. And you can actually get frustrated when the real spouse does not participate or play into the role that you have in the fantasy world. It can be very, very dangerous. Even if in the fantasy world, the spouse is kinder, more gentle, takes more time. Maybe in the other world, they actually understand your sex language, and all the way from the foreplay in your fantasy, all the way through to afterwards, they say and do the right things perfectly. Well, this can set your brain up for a lot of frustration in your marriage and in your long-term relationships. This really can create a neurological confusion because you have real spouse A and you have the fantasy spouse B, and that can really confuse you during your sexual relationship. So you have to decide for yourself. Now, I've not masturbated in over 30 years. I have a polygraph outside my wall in my office that verifies that. And I don't have an axe to grind on this. This is just a podcast to give you some information because this is a big issue, especially in marriage and in long-term relationships. Now, one of the things is that what I find is that couples, they never talk about it. You should talk about what you both believe about masturbation if you think this is an acceptable behavior, and make sure you understand what the other person is masturbating to. Because you might say, well, as a woman, when I masturbate, I don't think of anything, so it's no big deal. So I think he's not thinking about anything, but I can guarantee you more than 80% of the guys are thinking about something, and it's probably not you. So therefore, he has a neuropathic attachment to, say, this fantasy object. Maybe she has red hair, maybe she's brunette, maybe she's tall, maybe she's a different color, maybe she's a different size. And all of a sudden, he finds himself attracted to those type of people and less attracted to you because you never had this conversation. And most women don't believe that men use fantasy during sexual encounters with themselves, and they really do. So you want to make sure if this is going on, how often it's going on, because if someone is reinforcing themselves 2, 3, 4 times a week to another thing than you are in a serious competition, and they will seriously be attracted to some scenario like that, whether it's a verbal scenario or a physical scenario, and they will actually go even purchase or try to provide pornography or real people to fulfill that. So it can be a real threat to your relationship. And what I find is most couples never talk about it. Of course, men don't want to talk about if they're doing it because they don't want you to say, hey, don't do that. So there's a secret. And wherever there's a secret in a relationship, there's the potential for weakness, for resentment, for concern, and for disparity when the secret comes out. So let me give you some of the downsides that my clients have given to me over decades on masturbation inside a marriage or inside a long-term relationship. Well, one is it can lead to a sexual addiction where you really do feel the preference is the other object and you feel addicted to that. It can lead to more or different behavior than your spouse is actually willing to participate in. So you're actually rewarding your body for something that you would never get in reality with your spouse, which can set up resentment towards the spouse and seeking out the other desired object. And you're doing it to yourself. Ring the bell, feed a dog. This isn't something your spouse is doing to you. You're setting up the resentment. You're setting up the disparity between what's real and what's not real. And you're the one who's probably becoming less and less mature sexually because it's all about you, where sex is really mutual in reality. It can lead to affairs. It can lead to purchasing sexual services. It can lead to going to sexual institutions to experiment. Okay. It can also lead to being very unsatisfied in your marriage or in your long-term relationship. And it can lead the spouse to never feeling enough, getting depressed, getting overweight, and not feeling like sex is about connection, that it feels like it's about relieving some kind of itch for you, or that you're not really making love to them, you're just having sex, and that's all that you can do. And masturbation can lead a person to they're only capable of having sex and not capable of making love. And that can be a real downside. Having to fantasize to have an orgasm with a real person. Now, this is an indication that masturbation has gone too far for you because real sex with a real person, eyes open, lights on, nurturing conversation. And we have a podcast about best sex, and there's lots of those. Go on our menu there and make sure you can tune into some of those. But if that's what you're doing, masturbation is already leading you down a path that is probably going to be unfulfilling for both of you in the future. And also, it can lead to not getting aroused by your spouse. Imagine that. Imagine being married to someone who's no longer attracted to you, and they'd rather sit in front of a computer than be with you. I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of women like that. I've talked to men who their wives would rather be on a porn thing or on a chat room than to be with them. How alone, how unwanted, how disrespected they feel, and how they don't feel enough. Yes, masturbation has downsides. Downsides you can't see, especially if this is your favorite behavior. And if you're protecting the behavior over your marriage or over your spouse, consider you might have a sexual addiction. You can get the book, The Final Freedom, Pioneering Sexual Addiction. You can go to our website, and it has many books there. Go to loveandsextoday.com. We have another website, Sex Addict, SEXADDICT. Don't add anything after the T.com. There's newsletters, there's an app, a free app there. There's lots of things you can do to get better. But as an adult, you're going to have to decide on this issue. Now, I decided over 30 years ago that I wasn't going to do it. I didn't see that it was helpful. I didn't see that it made my marriage better. I didn't see that it in any way helped my clients who were struggling with being addicted to masturbation. So you're going to have to decide this. And this is an issue for both of you, because your behavior when it comes to masturbation can impact your sexual satisfaction with your spouse. It can impact their sexual satisfaction. It can impact the level of emotional, spiritual intimacy that you can have, because this can rob you of maturity in those areas. So this is not just your decision. If you're in a committed relationship or marriage, this is a mutual decision. And you should mutually decide this issue. That is the best wisdom on this, because so many women have no idea how dangerous this is until it ends up out of control, until it ends up that they're no longer preferred, or there's an affair, or there's a prostitute, or there's something crazy going on in their life. This can really be a root issue. Now, I've given you enough information. Think about this. If you need help, give us a call, 719-278-3708. We have all kinds of support groups and things you can get into to get help. There's materials. And think through this. This is a serious conversation. I'm going to masturbate, not to masturbate. It's a great thing to talk about. But I can tell you most couples have never done it. They've never sat down and said, what do we believe about this? I mean, this is like creating a media budget, creating a financial budget. What do we believe about parenting? What do we believe about masturbation? What are we going to create in our relationship? This is a great topic. I really hope that you take this into your marriage and your relationship. And ladies, don't be afraid to talk about this. Ask your husband, when was the last time you masturbate? How often do you masturbate? What do you masturbate to? Are you using pornography? You not knowing the answers to those questions can ultimately destroy your relationship, and you will be the one who will suffer. You're the one who will be living on child support. You're the one who will be out alone trying to find another spouse. This I have seen done so many times. So please be mature, be insistent, and be determined to make sure that you're in agreement on what's going on with your individual sexuality so that your mutual sexuality can be satisfying. And we really want you to have a great sex life. This can be a threat to that. We want you to have a great relationship, great love. This can be a threat to that. So talk through that. I want you to go to loveandsextoday.com. Subscribe there. Review us on iTunes, because those iTunes things are really important, and it helps other people learn what you're learning. And they go, wow, I want to know more about that. This would be a great one to review. I'm sure we're going to get comments on today's show. Now, one of you will be selected every month for a private conversation. We'll call you and say, hey, let's set up a time and talk with Dr. Doug. And that's fascinating. You can bring up any subject you want, and we will just have a good chat about it. Also get a free chapter of one of our books. And there's a button on the webpage, loveandsextoday.com, where you get to ask your question, have your comment, give us topic ideas. We want to meet your needs in your love life, in your relationship, in your marriage, and in your sex life. We want you to have great sex and great love today.
That's it for our episode of Love and Sex Today with Dr. Doug Weiss. Head on over to loveandsextoday.com and be sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes. When you do, and you post a review on iTunes, some lucky listener is going to win every single month a private confidential coaching call with Dr. Doug Weiss. Also, feel free to ask any question you like. You can push a button, speak your question, and Dr. Doug will answer your question in a future episode. So be sure to subscribe to the show. Doug's got some great gifts for you, and we will look forward to seeing you next time.